This is a video that we did for our newest course that shows you how to build out Zoho One yourself in an afternoon. So that is in the first comment below. Take a look at that link. We probably have a coupon available. Go ahead and check it out. In the meantime, enjoy this video. It talks about how to create a, quote, pretty proposal using Zoho CRM information and Zoho Writer as a merge. And then you can ultimately send it for signature. So this is one of the lessons that's included in that course that you wouldn't otherwise be able to see unless you had the course. So check this out. If you like what you see, I highly recommend check out the course.
All right, so what we're going to do now is something fun. We're going to create a pretty proposal. So in the previous lesson, we talked about using just the raw connection or quote integration between Zoho Books and Zoho CRM. So you saw how easy that was. You could just generate an estimate. Now the thing is, let's say for the demo company that we're working with here, this iCam. So let me see, do we have iCam up here? I don't. Yeah, I guess I can open up here a new tab. So this company here. So you can imagine, I think, if you have a company similar to this, we have products and services commingled, and then you're putting up cameras around a house as you have cabling that comes into play. You've got Wi-Fi boxes. You've got probably certain screws and nuts and bolts and things and zip tie downs, poles maybe that they're placed on, some kind of frame or device that it connects it to the building. Then the camera gets connected to that. So there's all these little bits and bytes maybe that you really don't want this long estimate that shows all those elements, because you do want to maintain some inventory on those. Maybe you don't want the nuts and bolts, probably not at that level. But there are other things that are key to the inventory that you don't want any kind of slippage where you are losing inventory and not aware of it, is you want to be able to account for those things. And especially even for sales, cost of goods sold. So as you're purchasing these products, they have a cost, and as you're selling them, they have the revenue, and then that's your gross margin is between the two of those things. So you want to account for them. But the thing is, your estimate may be like 2-3 pages long of all kinds of details that you may not want your prospect to see. You want to see a more generic, here's what the equipment's costing, here's what the installation costs. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a pretty proposal that you can merge together. And so there's some elements of this that we're going to combine together and show you how you can start creating your first one. So in the previous example, we had finance, right? We created the estimate, which included, let's see where you're at, 2 pieces of equipment here. I probably just should have used even numbers, honestly, because I don't have to use a calculator and figure out what the cost is. And then the installation here. So you've got 2 things. You can have one line item, let's say equipment, one line item installation. And what we're going to try to do here, well, not try, but we're actually going to do it, is if you look at eGroup building here, and let's see, do I have any signed documents? So let me click on this signed document. Let's take a look what this looks like. And let's go to attachments. So proposal. So you can see here's a proposal that was created. And it looks nice. I mean, obviously this is just copy and paste. You do your own thing, and we'll show you how you can set these up. But I just kind of copied snippet, the little website thing here, just in the interest of time, just took that. But you can see it's got a dynamic date on here, and now you've got this kind of pretty look. You've got equipment, installation, software, CPU, and you can make it look better, better here. You don't have to have the quantity. Maybe you don't have the price. Maybe you just have a description, the item, the description, and the total. But this is kind of the concept here, and you can make this look prettier. So I'll show you some of that. But it looks like a more kind of a nicer looking proposal, so they're not seeing everything. They're just saying, here's, example, this is scope of work, here's a system overview. And this I just wrote together with a little bit of AI assistance, just in the interest of displaying something for the demonstration here. But this is the idea of what we would create. So let's go back to that deal. All right, that deal is the ABC building. All right. So in the layout here, one thing I included is something called a subform. So, and I called it proposal line item. So if you're looking if you've had Zoho and you've used subforms, then great, you already know what these are. If you're brand new and you just started up a new Zoho account, this does not exist in your deal record. You'd have to create it. So if you remember back in a previous lesson, we talked about the layout and how you could work with the layout. We're going to go into edit, just so I can show you where I built this. We're going to edit the page layout. And again, on a previous lesson, you learned that we could do it here as well. We could just do layouts or the fields. But I'm going to go ahead and look at this. You'll see here, proposal line items. Let's go into what the layout looks like. Here we go. So here's that proposal line items right here. And all I did is I clicked this subform and I just dragged it over. And then you can see here, all right, what's the subform name? Is it standard? Standard subform allows multiple custom row entries to be associated with a record. What's static? Static subform allows you to predefine values for specific fields. Let's see, maximum row entries, you can do 25, or you can again cap that out at 5 or so, if that's how you want to do it. And then you have the ability to reorder the option for the row entries. So as you're adding, let's go back into this. And this new one doesn't have any rows in it. Let's leave the page and we'll go back to that other deal that we have. Let's click on David and we'll go to his record since there's 2 in here. Let's go to that e-group building. And if I edit and I look here, you can see here's this little reorder, it's little arrows that show up, and I can move them around. I can move this down here, etc. So I can move them around. That's what the reorder is. So let's cancel that. Yep, leave page. Go back in there, and so that's what the reorder is. Required is just like anything else, you'd have to enter something in there. And so don't save the subform is what I'm going to do. Actually, I'll go ahead and save it just so you can see what it's like to add fields. So click on add field and you can see, just like in the regular layout, you have single line, you have multi-line, you have email, phone. Pick list was a drop down. That's what a pick list is. Multi-select, which is having checkboxes and selecting multiple of them, or in a pick list. A date time, number, currency, decimal, percent, long integer, which is like a bunch of characters that have to be numbers. That's long integer. So you can see what the different fields are here. Lookup is interesting. So let's say you do have products in the CRM, which I think we hid the actual products module, but maybe you have the products module references the more generic line items that you'd have. Is you could have a lookup to that. So you have another table of information, which are just your generic things to choose from that you could put in this subform just for the sake of the pretty proposal. I'm using air quotes. The pretty proposal, you can have a lookup. So currently in this one down here, I don't have that. It's just somebody types in what the item is. But I think probably looking back, before I set this up just quickly, probably do a lookup to like a products module. That way you can have it more standardized for your sales team. Again, if it's just you could probably type it in, no big deal. Otherwise, you could have things to select from, and then maybe you just alter the description. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this. Remove. Yep, let's get rid of it. And you can see it popped it over here to unused items. I could just completely blast it out. Boom, get rid of it. Okay, so that's where that is. So proposal line items. If we go back to that proposal, which we're going to go into, what the template looks like, this is what it's going to pull in from, is this element of the page. Okay, so let's go ahead and cancel this. Yeah, leave page, we're not doing anything. Go back to the deal. Let's go back to the other deal that we have for David. Okay, this ABC building. So again, we already had the finance, these totals. And so I'm not going to make a match exactly just in the interest of your time watching this. I'm going to round this up to just $3,500 and $1,000. So we're going to call it $4,500 and $750. So $4,500 for 2 things of equipment. Let's go back. And so let me go into, so I'm going to go edit. I'm in the deal again. I'm going to say, here's the equipment. The price is $4,500. We're going to say just one. We're going to add a row, installation, and that's $750. And again, if you had a drop-down, a generic drop-down that pointed to products, as just previously mentioned, you would have a price that's already associated with it, so it could pop in there. Or like this installation, which is $7,500. It was actually 75, right? And then it was 10 of them. So you could do that as well. Or you could just say generically 750 and the quantity. Again, we may not even need quantity. It could literally just be probably price and description. Don't need the quantity for the pretty proposal. So let me go ahead and just save this. All right. So we're not going to do this send with Zoho sign yet because we still need to look at that template, what it looks like. So let me go into crm.zoho.com and we are going to go to the setup down here. I'm going to block you again. Okay, templates. So what templates do we have? Let's look at the modules. We did this in a previous lesson where we just shortcutted to this. Okay, so deals Zoho sign template. Is this the one I need? So that's not it, because that's an email. Let's look at mail merge. Oh, there we go. There's a proposal in there, proposal ZDoc. Now, I'm going to, in this lesson, there should be an attachment, which is you could download this as a starting point. And there's elements of it that are going to pull over, but there's elements that are not going to pull over. So when this pulls up here, you can see the sidebar popped out. Okay, if it didn't pop out, then you just go to these three little hamburger, they call it, the little pieces of bread and a meat in between it. And you can see there's some options here: formatting, insert, fields, design, page setup, automate. So we have these merge fields that are in here. So proposal for deals.account name. So you're like, okay, where'd that come from? If you go to automate, you can see the data source is Zoho CRM. And here's all the fields that are in that deal, including the account name. Okay. So like if I press enter and I say account name, I just clicked on it, it shows up here. You can see it looks exactly the same as that. So it just inserts that merge field. So when we go to merge it, it's going to pull that information in. This field here, it looks like it's just a date, but it's actually a merge field as well. And it's called if we go up here to fields, you can see date. Click that down. You got dynamic today's date. So whenever you go to create this, it's automatically going to create that day. So today's date is literally today's date. It's November 3rd. But dynamic today's date means if you created it for 3 days from now, it's going to be November 6th and not November 3rd. If you did just regular today's date, it's going to stay as today's date. Okay, and you can see those. I mean, if a document created, last edited, you could use those dates, but not in this. Doesn't make sense because it's a proposal that you want an actual date on it. So I'm going to scroll down now. So that's where you would merge that in. And then I did a simple copy and paste for the verbiage here. You write up whatever verbiage you want. Oh, and I shouldn't skip this. This is just an image. So if you want to add an image, some kind of header image, then all you're going to do is go here to insert, and you can say image. And I would just upload an image or a URL, pick from work drive. So you have several options here to get an image on the page here. One thing to note is as I'm working on this, you'll notice this little saved automatically saves. So you don't have to click on any button. You don't have to click on done. It's just automatically saving it as edits are made to it. Okay. You'll notice this little blue thing here. So what this is, it's called a condition. So what I have is, this is one document that actually covers the verbiage for residential and for commercial in the same document. So it has both of them. If I scroll down here, you'll see here's an introduction. And then here's another introduction. You see that? But it's not going to show both of these. It's only going to show the section that makes sense for whatever it is that deal represents. So if I go back to the deal, and let's see if I have a reference in here as to what kind of deal this is. So I don't currently. I added this field called resi.com, which is to represent, is it residential or is it commercial? So I'm going to say this one is commercial. Check the box. And you could probably make it a required field at a certain point of a stage. Let's say if you're at proposal price quote, maybe at that point it becomes required. We can do rules for that. Not covered in this lesson, but it is something you can do. We might cover it in a different lesson, or even our master class is going to go definitely deeper into many of these things. If I go back to that proposal, so now if we look at this if, I'm going to click on it. So if that resi.com, that I just showed you contains residential, then show this. And if I go down here, you'll say, it says else. So otherwise, if it doesn't show that, then show this part. So that is if it's residential, and this is if it's commercial. So you can see the word commercial is down here, and here it says standard residential system, so you can tell they're two different things. And then this right here is the proposal line items. So what's on that deal will show up here repeated. Now, how did I enter this, right? Because you'll get a copy of this and you'll have this already built into it, but you're not going to have the conditionals. So you'll have to add those. So you're going to say, okay, where do I do that? So where you do that is over here on automate, you would enter in condition. So let me go down to maybe the bottom. Yeah, let's go down here. So maybe you have some T's and C's. Let's say that might be included. So I'm going to add this piece now. So let's say a condition, insert text condition. Let's go back to that Resi thing again. So where are you at? Scroll Resi com. And if you notice, I could have just started typing here and it would show up. So if it contains, let's do commercial. Maybe it's a little more formal that way. So insert. So you can see if Resi com contains commercial, it says content to be shown if the condition is true. So all I did is in this whole text area, including the table that repeats itself, I plopped it in there. So I just paste the whole thing. And in this case, I'm going to say, here are the commercial terms and conditions. Else, nothing. Okay. I'm going to put little dots. Dot, dot, dot. All right. So now we just added that conditional. So when you look at the template that's attached to this lesson, you can download it or upload it into yours. I'll show you how to do that in a sec. But then you're going to need the conditions. So you're going to have to copy and paste the content between them, because that part doesn't carry over when I downloaded it to put it into the attachments. But the merge fields do. Okay, so now you may not have the same thing called proposal line item. If you've been doing business for a while, you might have another subform that you're working with. So how do we add that? Let's go down to the bottom again and just kind of show how we can simply add that. Okay, so since we're pulling information in from the Zoho CRM, is you have this thing here, subforms. Okay, so you can see here's proposal line items. What I'm going to do is I'm clicking on subforms so that you can see these and you can see all the different fields. So I can insert a repeat region. So I'm highlighting this, going here, and I say, okay, let's insert a table for row repeat. Okay, that's one way to do it, but you can see I don't have the fields in there. So let's do this a little different way. Let's go down here. Can I scroll down further? Delete table. A little faster then. Okay, so that's gone. So the way I typically like to do it is, even though they're here, I go here to this repeat, insert table row for repeat, and then I can say go here, and I'm going to go look at what do I want to bring over. Let's do item, description, and total that show up on here. Okay, so now that's what's going to show up. Now when I go to merge this, it's going to be in two places. You're going to have it up here and you're going to have it down here. But I just want to show that's how you do the repeats. And then the total, because you'll see here I did the total investment. Even though in the subform, if you look at it, it totals grand total here. It's not really part of the subform. It's actually a kind of a field that's associated with the deal information. So let's go here, and you can see deals grand total. So where that is if I go back to main fields, and I go, where are you at? Grand total. You got to be in here somewhere. There you go. So grand total. That's what that is. Okay. Then you're wondering, okay, what are these things here? This is for Zoho Sign. So you can create this proposal and then you can send it right here. You can merge and send for sign collection. So if I click on this right here, you can see I can build in the email that is going to send out. Now I don't have any text content here, but you can write information out, and you can add fields if you wanted to from the deal. date, document sequence. I mean, you can add all kinds of information in this here, like hello, let's put contacts, first name. And here, same thing. If I took this out and I go, okay, let's go to the plus sign, the contacts email, because it's a contact that's associated with this deal. You can see right here, contact name. That's what it's looking at. Again, I'm looking at the deals. All right, and then here's what's the actual name. So if I take this out, you can see it wants the signer's name. So I'm going to say plus, again, contact. Do I have full name? No, I think I had to put first name and then space last name. Document name, you can here it's pulling in the deal name, and you can say, you know, what, add additional information if you want, like today's date. Pick a date, fixed date, so you can add the date there. And then attachment. This is like, let's say you want to have, there's always T's and C's that is general that are going to be, this is not dynamic, so it's not going to be like, okay, based on it being commercial or residential, but you could add a common attachment. Maybe it's like a product sleeve or something like that that you want to have attached to it. You can add that there as well. Okay, so that is this merge and send, but now we need to add these signing fields. So if we go back in here to fields, signer fields, you can see there's one, it's a signer A, and all I did is just put signature. So you can see it just duplicated the same one I already had there, right? And then this I had as full name right here. You can see the little icon looks like that. And then this one was the sign date, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's this one here. But you can add job title, company, add a text field where they have to type it in. So we just kind of try to make it simple here. All right, so that is how we build this pretty proposal. Again, the images are just insert image, and then this one was another insert image. Okay, so we got that. It's saved everything, so that's all saved at this point. Let's click done. Close the tab. Go back to this deal here, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and create that that document. So I'm going to go ahead and send with Zoho Sign. It opens this. So there's two ways to do it. This is one way to do it. You can see mail merge templates. And what's the one we have there? We currently have proposal. We're going to create. It already pulls in the record, right? Because that's the contact that's on the deal. It take them 15 days. It'll in Zoho Sign, you have the ability to update what these things are, what the days to complete are, and send reminders. So you can send reminders every 5 days. You can send it every day if you want to. I don't know what the max is for that. But then you can say, yes, send automatic reminders. So it's like a set and forget. You don't have to worry about it. And then you just do quick send. And I already sent it. Well, that's happened. Okay, let me show it again with the stepping through it so you can see what that merge looks like more. Okay, so go back here. So that's quick send, right? The fast way to send it. Create. I'm stepping through these steps faster because you just saw it. So let's create it, and then we're going to go in here to next so you can see what the merge looks like. Oops, let's not do that right now. So this is what the merge looks like. So you can see it's today's date. It puts the account name in there, right? Scroll down. You can see it brought in the commercial one. There's only one section of it. It brought in the total. Here's the total investment. And you can see down below where I had built in those other ones we just did. Here's the commercial terms and conditions. So if it was a residential one, it would not even show this part right here. Okay, I think you got it. And then you can send an order. You could add yourself, more settings. It's the settings you saw before. So this is just if you want to review it first, you can certainly take a look at it. You can edit it. So if you wanted to change something in it, some verbiage, add something, you could edit it here with this step, which could be helpful. And in a moment here, it pops up. Come on, you can do it. All right. So if I wanted to, let's see. So add text box, erase, highlight. I think it's already merged. So not much we're actually going to edit here. Unless you wanted to add like a text box, you could certainly do that, but that's all you could do. So let's go ahead and get rid of that. All right, let's go back. Yeah, let's change that. And then I'm going to X out of this, not continue it. I don't need to send it again. So let's go ahead and X out of that. All right, so the pretty proposal has been sent. That's what it looks like. Another way you could work with it is come over here. Now this is where you could edit it. So if I go 3 dots, mail merge, it's proposal merge. This is going to open up a new tab. Now this one you can actually edit. So you can see that little pop out shows up, and I could change the verbiage in this way. Okay, so I could actually change some of the verbiage here. It's not going to change the line items. It's not going to do that, but some of the other verbiage you may want to change in here. And then all you have to do is say preview merge. So you can kind of see what the data is going to look like in there. One thing to note, when I said that add thing, if you remember, we're working in the editor. So it was actually editing the residential one, not the commercial one. That's why that add here is not showing up. So if I go back, I scroll down to this one. Okay, and I edit it there. Then go to preview and scroll down. Now you see it, right? Because it's doing that conditional. This stuff still stays here because it is commercial. Okay, so I think that's pretty straightforward. Now, back to editor. So you can merge and send for sign collection. So when I go to look at that preview merge, I can send for electronic signature, and I can send it through Zoho Sign. Here's the tricky thing though. In this record, if I refresh this, it's likely to be there now because it's actually been a couple minutes. You can see Zoho Sign documents. This is where it's actually connected to the deal, is by doing it this way. If I were to send this through Sign here, in essence, it's kind of disconnected from the deal at this point. Unfortunately, the merge works, but it doesn't show up as a document that's in the Sign documents here. So there's a difference there. So one is you can edit it, but it's not going to show up in there, so you'd have to grab it and then reattach it or something. It'll still work through the sign process, but you're not going to, just by clicking this, have it attached to the deals. I could be wrong with that, but I believe that's what happens. It doesn't actually attach it to the deal, as the other one does. Okay, let me think what else we can add here. I believe I've covered everything on how to create this pretty proposal, and it uses writer.zoho.com. That's what it's actually, it's another Zoho product, so it's not really in the CRM, it's actually in Writer. So in the masterclass, we were planning on doing a lot more automations. There's other ways we can do this with buttons, where it'll automatically do these steps that we had in doing the Zoho sign, the first and the second step. So we can just click a button. There's other things that are called blueprints that could also do the same thing, send out the Zoho sign, still keep it attached to the deal. But for right now, kind of proverbial out of the box, even though there's some high customization that's done here, I think you can see the power of it, that you can still have your finance side of the estimate and the sales order to handle what you need to for revenue and cost of goods sold details and accuracy for your actual financials. But for the customer to see something different, that's where that merge document can be really helpful to make it look pretty for the customer. All right, I think we've covered enough here. I'm going to leave, I think, the discussion turned on this. So if you have any questions, just add a question there. I should get pinged that you have some questions, and then we'll go on to the next lesson. Covered a lot on this one.